I would say in Tekken 7, one of my favorite characters to play was Anna Williams, and the first time that I tried playing her, I just went with the same game plan that I had for Kazumi, and let me tell you, it did not work well. She is not this poking character that creates width with movements and whatnot. So the second thing that I did once that didn't work was to go on YouTube and search how people played her in previous Tekkens, because up until Tekken 8, up until now, characters never changed that drastically, so you can learn how to play a character just by watching previous titles. And what I realized is that they were playing around the fear of her full crouch game, which is the key element of this character, and also going for set plays. So just like Law, Shaheen, Lee, you crouch next to the opponents, see how they react to it, so you can bait out a whiff this way or go for the 50-50 right away depending on how they deal with it, and they will look for knockdown, so you could dash in and do the same here, where if you expect a get up kick, you can dash in, crouch, and then backdash away and make that whiff. And by the way, that was super satisfying, getting those whiffs on people refusing to tech rolling these situations. It was super nice. So once I started to play her like that, she finally clicked. And it was so much fun because it was the first time that I was playing the game in a different way than I learned with Kazumi and also Heihachi, which kind of can be played similarly. So that's why I tried to do the same with Anna, and then I figured out that it didn't work. I needed to play her differently. But unfortunately, in Tekken 8, she got heavily reworked. But it's a kind of a weird one, because when you look at the move list, it feels like there's so much left over from her previous game plan that it makes you want to try playing her like that. But when you do so, you just get that feeling that you're doing too much stuff to set it up when you could just be doing something much easier. It's kind of like playing Assassin's Creed. If you never played that game, they give you a lot of ways to create like stealthy plays. You have the smoke bomb, you have coins that you can throw in the middle of the street so people gather in and you just walk through them and suddenly you're not being followed by anyone anymore. But when you look at these plays, there's so much more work than just spamming attack button and winning. That's the feeling that I get with Anna and her new stance, the hammer chance stance. So let's make some comparisons so you can understand what I'm trying to say here. In Tekken 7, she already had like a stance rush down. That was a new thing for her in that game in comparison to the previous titles. But the way you could set it up was also as risky as playing around her full crouch game. But it was nice that you could switch between one and the other. It was a little bit easier to go for the Chaos Judgments than the full crouch game a lot of the times, but it was not necessarily the best way to play her. You could mix things up a little bit. So the low he had to go into the Chaos Judgments with a little bit of an advantage was down 4. Down 4-1 actually. This is stance transition. However, down 4 in that game was only minus 13. In this one is minus 15. So it doesn't apply anymore for this game, but it was only minus 13. However, if you went for the stance transition and they blocked the low, you always get launched because you wouldn't have a way to cancel the stance or interrupt certain punishments. So it made that low, which was not like a big risk, to a launch punishable one. And if you wanted to create the set play style that I talked about, knock the opponent down to go for the full crouch game, the main way was using this low here, which is +5 on hits, normal hits. It only knocks down on counter. However, this is also super risky because if they blocked it, just like the other low, most characters are going to be able to launch you for that. It's minus 15, just like in Tekken 7. But if you compare it to the main low for the hammer chance stance play style, you have down back 4, which is only minus 13, already super good. And unlike down 4-1, which is only, I think it's still like +1 only, there we go. It is +6, and that's after the nerf. It used to be more than that, which reduced a lot the defensive options you had against it, but now you can sidestep right some of the attacks that she has, some of the follow-ups, but still like very safe to use. It has good range. It doesn't seem like it at first, but look at the distance I'm hitting her from. It is super good. It has counter hit properties, so if it counters, I get the elbow follow-up for free, stuff like that. I can even cancel the stance if I want to, and that's gonna leave like them spaced away. You have a lot of things you can do with it, and it's like a lot less risky to go for. And when it comes to the mids, The way that I have to set up the set play is mostly like this button here. She doesn't have a lot of ways to knock the opponent down with a normal hit that is not risky. I would say this is the best button that she has. And this is a 23 fast move that is quite linear, slow, linear, likely to be interrupted by a jab or a poke, something like that. But on normal hits, it creates the situation and gives this as a free follow-up, which is a button that I like. I can talk about that real soon. But a very slow button, right? If I want to create the set play, the rush down stance with KO judgments, it is a little bit trickier because one button you have is this one here, which goes into the KO judgments at 0 frames on block. I only get good frame advantage if it hits, which is fine. But in Tekken 7, it was -2 on block. However, it launched on normal hits. You could get like a mini juggle. That's not the case anymore. It's only on counter that you're gonna launch the opponents. And aside from that, other ways you could do it was through this string here. And you have this mid follow-up here that makes people afraid of pressing buttons. So you could condition them not to press here, so you could feint that attack into the stance. But as you can see, it's very punishable. If they call you out, you get punished. -17, you get launched if they do a down 4-2. And even on hits, the transition is punishable at -10. But what do we have for the hammer chance stance? You have this attack here, back 4, which is a homing mid with a lot of range. And guess what? Safe on block. -9, -8, -9, depending on the distance, because it has two active frames. Actually 3, I just realized. On normal hits, it's +11. So unlike down back 4, you really limit the defensive options the opponent has. And again, this is a mid homing attack with a lot of range. You don't have to take those risks anymore to create stance pressure with Chaos Judgments. But all of these buttons are still there. However, when I tried her out, I wanted to play that play style that I learned to like in Tekken 7, but you just feel like a fool trying to do that. And that's why I'm not happy with this rework they gave her, which feels unfinished. She used to be a high-risk, high-reward character with interesting set plays and ways to rush the opponent down, and it became a lot safer with the hammer chance stance. And on top of that, like, what is this mechanic, the chip one? It feels like if they have given that to any other character, it would make a lot more sense already. Because, like, you're applying chip damage with a character that already has a very scary mix-up. Like, why? It could have been, like, a completely different character. Someone that doesn't have good lows at all. And the entire game plan is to apply this effect so they can deal a lot of chip damage through certain attacks. And once they are really low with a lot of gray health, then they could use, like, a quick poke, a low, and a mid to mix them up and make them a lot scarier, because now the opponent might be at low health after taking so much chip damage. But I guess they decided to give her something because she is a DLC character, and so far everybody got like a new, different, interesting mechanic. But yeah, it just feels like such a waste. In the beginning of her release, it was like too much chip damage with stuff like this. I even made a video about this move, because especially in heat, you will deal like so much chip damage. But now it just feels like an extra that you don't really create a game you play around. It's just hammer chance stance over and over again with the cancels, especially that, like, if you go for this here, this type of play, you can quickly cancel this stance into down back and then quickly go into blocking again. So it feels like the only good button that they added to support the old play style is up 4-2, which is in the neutral, it's a counter hit mid launcher that is safe on block. But to me, that doesn't even matter. What I like about it is that after knocking the opponent down, we can use this as a guaranteed follow-up, and then use the hammer chance stance here to condition the opponents into getting up and attack rolling. Because if they stay on the ground and that hits them, it's a lot of damage. And despite being like a bad situation even when you block it, because she's plus, you still want to make sure that you don't take that extra damage for free. And from there, what you can do is cancel it and then go for the full crouch game. That to me is super interesting, and feels like it's an attempt to support that old play style, but it just feels like they stopped at that, and then eventually they decided to go a different route and left all of that old stuff in her move list without properly integrating it to the new play style.